Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Mindful Me, How to Catch a Curveball. I'm Stephanie Morawski from WorkSafe Tasmania, and I will be your moderator today. Before we start, I ask that you take a few moments to read the following slide about information received today. I will now go over a few items so that you know how to participate in today's webinar. We have taken a screenshot of an example of the attendee interface. You should see something that looks like this on your computer in the upper right corner. You're listening in using your computer's speaker's default. If you would prefer to join over the phone, just select telephone in the audio pane and the dial-in information will be displayed. You will have the opportunity to submit text questions to today's presentation by typing your questions into the questions pane of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation. Questions will be addressed at the end of today's webinar. We will also be recording this webinar. Recordings will be made available at the end of WorkSafe month. At the close of today's webinar, you will receive a survey on the presentation. We appreciate you providing us with your feedback. I would now like to introduce Penni Lamprey, Director of Healthy Happy Staff, to present today's webinar, Mindful Me, How to Catch a Curveball. Penni is an experienced business manager, internationally recognised lifestyle food and wellness coach, mindfulness coach, and neuro-linguistic programming practitioner. Her sessions encourage and support participants to change the way they think and participate in life, to experience today while looking forward to their future. Penni's sessions are also hands-on and also have a practical element to them. Welcome, Penni.
Hello, Stephanie. Hello, audience. Thank you very much for being here today. We are going to jump straight in, if we could, with a few questions. Now, if we were in a live audience, I'd just ask for a show of hands. So we're just going to ask for a yes or no. Stephanie's going to pop the questions up. I'm curious, do you find yourself mulling over the events of yesterday or the past? Are you distracted with your to-do list? Do you find that you get through all the way to Friday, and then all of a sudden it's Sunday night? Or you're wishing that maybe you hadn't have said that out loud? Where are you at with what you've done and where you need to be? Just a yes or no when Stephanie pops the question up. Do you find yourself distracted by the events of the past or your to-do list of tomorrow? Maybe both. Just a few minutes there. I hear quite often people say it takes almost like a fortnight to get to Friday, but then Sunday just rolls around and they're back to Monday again.
Okay, so we'll close this poll and show the results.
82, yes, sounds very familiar. Okay, so another question. What about your conversations? So your conversations maybe with yourself and the conversations that you have with others. Do you find that you're defending your positions? Maybe you hear yourself saying, I shouldn't feel this way, or if I hadn't have done X, Y wouldn't have happened. Or maybe you're just generally confused. Maybe they're confusing. You're not really sure what to say or the response that you'll possibly get from speaking. A yes or a no?
We'll close the poll, Penni, and show the results.
Okay, good. We have some really great communicators amongst us. That's really good to see. Now, our last question, who wants to believe that they can change the way they think and be healthier and happier from such a change? Who wants to believe they can change the way they think and be healthier and happier from such a change in thinking? I'm not allowed to vote. I don't know what I've got to do.
And we'll close the poll and show the results.
Yes, excellent. Okay, you know what? You're not alone. So these are the repercussions of living in our 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week world. We are on clock all day, every day. Our conversations are becoming confusing, we're mulling about the past, and we're distracted with our to-do list. But imagine though, if there was a proven way to disengage from our overthinking and our reactive behaviours, and one that enabled us to tap into our resourceful calm, our considered self, and one that your peers and your colleagues could emulate. Now, there's no poll here, but I imagine that most people are nodding at the moment saying, yes, that's what we'd like. So please, thank you for having me today. Welcome to Mindful Me. Simply put, Mindful Me is essentially mindfulness practice. It's a practice with deep roots in Buddhism, and it's been researched and documented by the modern day father of mindfulness, Jon Kabat-Zinn. Many people have heard of him. He's quite internationally known and renowned. Mindfulness is attention to the here and the now, to the things, the very things that are happening to you at this moment. Essentially, what's happened this morning has done, and what you're expecting this afternoon is merely a projection. At this very point in time, I am the be-all. My voice is the be-all and end-all of your world. So mindfulness is, it's more of a strategy to manage our difficult situations. It's a way to cultivate a more balanced relationship with ourselves and the realities of life. And it can be better understood as a way of being and living rather than a tactic or a strategy. And it entails many different facets and elements. I'm just moving the next slide across to there. Mindfulness helps us create a different relationship with our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions. So how to catch a curveball? This session today, it'll bring the evidence-informed literature into practical concepts that will in turn encourage you to be aware of what you think, what you experience today, while you're also looking forward to the future. If you've had enough of worrying about the past or you're anxious about the future, hopefully you'll be excited to know that I've distilled 2,500 years worth of practice into one key takeaway. And you'll know when we get there. I make quite a song and dance about it. Firstly though, who is Mindful Me for? Mindful Me is designed to enable you to discover and detect and understand how you currently think, how you react, and how you behave. It's a potential mirror, so a mirror that will help you be able to see yourself, and then also to be able to see others. If you manage, lead, delegate, profile, motivate, teach, train, coach, work alongside other people, if you have anybody in your life, Mindful Me and the elements that you'll learn today will be of benefit for you. So for the next 20 minutes, I'd really like you to hang on to the idea that mindfully bringing attention to the way you think will help you catch the curveballs that life throw at you, and eventually those that you spend your days with. At the heart of mindfulness, we've got 7 elements. We have attention, automaticity, judgment, acceptance, goals, compassion, and ego. Now, I'll introduce these all separately today, but integrate them as we progress through, and you'll see how you can't have one without the other, and they support each other beautifully. Without further ado, we'll move on. Attention. When it comes to our attention, we've got 2 different elements at work, and they're the extent to which we have control over. We have attention stimulation and attention regulation. Attention stimulation also has 2 forms. We've got external stimuli and internal stimuli, and they gain our attention. When we hear a loud bang, such as that, our attention goes directly and automatically to that sound. And the same is true for internal stimuli. So we can have a thought such as, did I leave the iron on? Or did I send those emails last night? They draw our attention and distract us from what we're doing. And we also have attention regulation. The thing, everybody has the will and the ability to focus and regulate our attention. Again, when our attention is drawn by that loud bang, we can decide to focus our attention on what we're doing, or we can let that interruption spill into every area of our lives. Our emotional containment is everywhere. This is the attention to regulation, and it's an important form of self-control. So applying mindfulness exercises, and the ones that we'll follow through in this session, it's a form of training for attention regulation. It's important to know the stimuli will always be there. Harvey Norman will always have those ads that gain our attention. Life will always throw curveballs. How we respond to that stimuli in a more desirable manner, that's what we can enhance with mindfulness training. So the attention to the now, of all the things that we can draw our attention to, we pay relatively little attention to the now. Our attention goes rather to our thoughts about the past or our predictions of what we want the future to be like. Now, I'm going to make a bit of an assumption here that we all shower, and being a webinar, doesn't matter if it was today or yesterday, that's not important. But I'd like you to jot down, if you've got pen and paper in front of you right now, or just even think about it, jot down your recollection from your last shower. What were your thoughts as you entered into the bathroom? When you turned on the taps, how did the taps feel, the metal on your hands? Was there a sound to the water rushing through those pipes? What about the steam as it veiled down over through the room? Do you have a tastic that sucked it up into the ceiling that it wasn't aware of, or did it fall down? Did you notice any of that? What about the moment that the water hit the back of your head? Every single nerve is awake and alive. You're in the moment, you're in the zone, but then something happens. Maybe the breakfast dishes crash to the floor and there's wails from hubby over the spilt milk. Or maybe the recollection of all the emails that you didn't send pops into your mind as you consider the what's for dinner dilemma. We tend to focus on things that need to be done that day, or we're reflecting on things that we did yesterday and even how we were spoken to. Some days I'm so distracted I can hardly remember if I've washed my hair. So my invitation to you, a few activities here, but this is the one that I'd really like you to focus on this week, is to experience one thing every day for a week and see what you notice. Write down what you see, what you hear, what you feel. Whether it be having a shower, your morning coffee ritual, walking to the bus stop, making the lunches. Really spend the attention to look at what you're seeing, you're hearing, and you're feeling. Write it down each day, and I guarantee after a week, you will have a rich, deep collection of experiences of things that you've noticed that previously you hadn't. It's a really lovely activity. So writing one activity for the last week. Pop down, if something springs to your mind right now, please make this a little bit interactive. I can't see you, but write down what's one activity that you'd like to do and focus on for the next week. Our second element is automaticity or automation. So automaticity involves behaviour outside of our conscious awareness, the autopilot. Now, some researchers believe that up to 90% of our activity is done this way. So no conscious thought about what we're doing, we just go about our day. Now, driving a car fits this model. I don't know about you, but initially I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know where to put my hands, my feet, the rear vision mirrors, what were they for? I didn't know when, what to do. And then with time and practice and rejigging, I could drive somewhere without much thought of attention. Now, this is a really important part of being a human. If we had to relearn everything every day, we wouldn't have evolved much further than a goldfish. So learning things and then going in automaticity is really important. But not everything unconscious is as useful as driving a car. So when an external event is followed by an unconscious and less than favourable reaction, when we cry over spilt milk, well, that's difficult to separate the objective event and our subjective reactions, our thoughts and our feelings. Over time, this is where we can have we could be perceived as lack of control, and we're the ones seen as the one with the problem. It could also then lead to anxiety, depression and addiction. What happens with automaticity, if we're unaware, is unconscious cause and effect. Here, ladies and gentlemen, this is our key learning for today. If there's one thing that I need you to understand and appreciate with mindfulness, between what is happening in this very moment and your reaction is a space. They cannot happen concurrently. This is so important, so I'll say it again. Between what you see, you hear, and you feel, and react, your reaction, there is a space. So think about the ping of an email from your boss. It does not happen as you sign. The ping precedes it. The lurch in your stomach does not happen at the same time as you think about the consequences of running late. Again, the lurch comes after. So if we took a moment now, think about the last time that you become frustrated. Just rewind that movie in your mind for a moment. It's there, isn't it? There's a space between what you see, what you hear and you feel, and your reaction. Now, it could be hands throwing up in the air, it could be a sigh of resignation, it could be some form of reaction, but it is there. A space where you have chose a different response and a more resourceful response is what happens when you find that space. I'll let you just think about that for a moment. Between what you see, you hear and you feel, there is a space between your response for a more resourceful you. Judgment. Within a fraction of a second, we automatically form an opinion on something. We're on autopilot, remember. It's black or white, right or wrong, good or bad, pretty or ugly. And with so much to look at and to form an opinion on, it is very relatively easy. So judgments are like filters that we view our beliefs from. And often they're handed down from our parents, our elders, and society. A man should not cry. My husband should be taller than I. And education makes you smarter, more important. Christmas is a time for family gatherings. These are external societal beliefs handed down to us. We can also have internal feelings and thoughts. I shouldn't feel this way, or I don't want to feel this way. When we determine that something is wrong, bad, or other, some other sort of negative description, we become further dragged into cycles of thought and despair. So you may be curious, what is the mindful me approach to judgments? Objectivity. Objectivity is your opportunity to find the space. So if we think about the rain as an example, just to put it into to contextualise judgments and objectivity. To a busy, say, employee or a courier in town, trying to get across town in the rain to deliver a package, that rain can have financial impact to their lives. They'll be late, wet and dishevelled. Pretty unfortunate situation, you may think. However, to a farmer in drought who's culling his sheep, that same rain event will also have financial implications. The fact that it is raining has subjectively different implications depending on who you are. The two sides of the one coin. So a judgment, because they're often handed down to us from society, it's important to know that they're often it's more about the person who makes the judgment than what the person or the thing is that's being judged. It doesn't matter how accurate or descriptive or appropriate a judgment may be, it is by definition a reflection on our opinions and beliefs. So if you're forming a judgment, be sure to understand, is it your judgment or one that somebody else has hand delivered to you? When we've got objectivity, we can have a differing of opinions. We can understand that those shoes are not to our taste. And we can understand that we have experienced a range of emotions today. We're moving on to acceptance. So with acceptance, it's undeniable that life consists of both pleasant and positive, the good or the negative, maybe the bad experience. And furthermore, they're inevitable parts of life. We generally don't have any problems with dealing with good experiences. In fact, we welcome them. However, bad experiences, because we've judged them to be so, can be more challenging. And to a greater extent, negative experience challenge, not because of the actual experience, but because of the attitude, the relationships with those feelings, how we've judged them to be. They're wrong, they're bad, they're not required. And since we'd rather get rid of the unpleasant situations and feelings and develop a yearning for the good times, we generally have a hard time accepting them. So this more or less immediately results in struggle or a conflict. What we find is we're conflicted between how things are now and how we've decided things should be. And the reverse can also be said for good experiences. So yearning for more and trying to hold on to them longer than they naturally occur for. So lazy long lunches with friends, another glass of wine, needing holidays to exotic places, a desire for me time. The desire for me time is growing more and more. So we get caught up in our thoughts, and instead of enjoying the moment for as long as it lasts and just naturally dissipating, we try to prolong the happy feeling and not think about tomorrow. So this is where acceptance steps in and your opportunity to find the space. With acceptance, we find the space, and the energy that was spent to reject and resist and complain is spent deciding how to respond, adapt, and to do things differently. Now, I know personally with my coaching clients, acceptance is the hardest element to embrace in the mindfulness, and one that takes a dedication to self to be, let go of the need to be happy and sad. You can't have drought without rain. It's that balance of to and fro. You've got to accept the good with the bad. We're moving on to goals, the other element of mindfulness, mindful me. So goals are a crucial part of society. We've followed the course of study with the aim of working in our professions. We even changed tact and changed professions. We boil water to get our tea or our coffee in the morning, and even clearing time to attend today's webinar required you to set a goal of some description. So some are abstract and far away. Personally, I want to retire early, and some are closer by, such as I'm planning to take my children fishing today. Good luck with that. Some are abstract and far away, and some are close. They are useful and they contribute to our belief in our abilities, our self-efficacy, and they provide structure and clarity. Goals can be useful. Now, if you've been paying extra attention, you'll also notice there that I've made a judgment. Goals are useful. That's my belief. You may think not. That's your judgment. Goals can be useful. I believe that there are also pitfalls to goals. When too much attention is paid to our goals, an imbalance between the goals and the future and the road to the goal, the now, occurs. We notice that our minds are constantly busy with the goals. How do we reach them? How do I get to retirement? What will happen if I don't achieve them? What do we need to do to get there? So we spend more time on the future than on the moment. And in this way, our goals can dominate our lives. And some days I'm still uncertain if I've washed my hair from the distraction in the shower. Mindfulness, though, does not mean that we don't set goals or that we just live in a mindful bubble of this moment, but rather being mindful encourages you to set goals consciously. So research has shown that achievement of static goals, so such as a unique circumstance, such as getting your house, winning $1 million, buying a car, they don't have long-lasting contribution to your happiness. They're often goals to set, they strengthen our identity or our ego, and we'll get to the ego shortly. Now, if we're in a workshop right now, we'd spend a lot of time exploring dynamic and static goal setting. However, time is moving, shimmying past, so we will slide over to compassion. Regardless of our best intentions, sometimes things go wrong, sometimes go very wrong, particularly if we've set abstract, static goals. Marriage can end, we miss our deadlines, we don't get the jobs we want, we get sick, we can feel stressed. And how we usually react to those, I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel shame, I felt guilty, and I can be very critical towards myself. You've probably heard it in others as well, maybe yourself. What's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Why me? Compassion, however, is something that comes naturally to us. And it does seem rather obvious when you're looking at it. When you cut yourself, or if I cut myself right now, I'd be able to put a Band-Aid on it and let it heal. If I couldn't do that, if it was beyond me and my abilities at that point in time, I'd go and seek appropriate aid. I'm absolutely certain my neighbours would help me. If that's beyond them, they'd take me to proper medical attention. However, oddly enough, when we're mentally or emotionally wounded, we often act in a completely different way. Instead of being active in our recovery and accepting and gentle, we struggle with our emotions and treat them like they're the enemy. Compassion means that we stop fighting with our own emotional pain and instead take care of ourselves, like we would our neighbours, our colleagues, our friends and our family members. If your what-if warrior is telling you that you're stupid, that you can't do something, or even worse, that you can't be bothered anymore, I encourage you to contact me or somebody so that we can help you learn to converse with the inner critic. You can rewrite that script. Ego. When I mention ego, normally people start to shudder and sort of wiggle around in their seat. The word ego often refers to someone who's very full of themselves. He certainly is confident in his abilities, and look at her strutting around. It sort of has a negative connotation that society has judged as less than redeemable. However, in the context of ego and how to catch a curveball, the ego refers to the created self-image that tells others who we are and who we identify with. What we have, what we do, think and our feel. The ego is our me story. It's who you are. Who we are and what we identify with has many elements. So our possessions, what we have and what we don't have, and what we think that the lack of or the inclusion of says about us and even others. What does our job say about us? Because of a certain profession, are we more successful in society or are we less than? Our appearance, what do we look like? Our height, those sort of things. What does our appearance and what we dress say, tell the world? What do we want the world to think of us? Our performance, our opinions, because I have this opinion, does that make me a different person to you? Our group memberships. I'm a beekeeper, I'm a runner, I'm a Toastmaster, I'm in all these different varied groups. What is that telling the world about me? And our roles. What are our roles in society, in our sporting groups, our community, our parenting, our partnering? What is our roles in society telling everybody about ourselves? So the content of the ego is very personal. For one person, the content could be determined by our status. You know, I'm a psychologist, so therefore I'm clever. And I'm not generalising against psychologists. Or another one's roles, those that identify as the victim. For another person, the content of the ego is filled with possessions, designer clothes, a big house or an expensive car. Yet for another person, the ego is mainly determined by the social or societal roles. The wife, the mother, the business owner. That's me. So another activity that I would like you to consider doing is in your own time or now, just write down some of the beliefs that you have about yourself. What does your possession say about you? What does your job, your appearance, your opinions, your groups, what are they saying about you? What have you constructed about yourself, the story that you're telling people? And if you come across a situation where you feel attacked or you have an idea that you need to protect something within yourself, just note that thought down and then possibly ask yourself, what do I need protecting here? What part of your ego is feeling vulnerable and exposed? This is your opportunity for space. Before you, as you see, hear or feel something, there's that space for you to respond with conscious choice. Personally, for myself, fleshing out my ego was life-changing activity. I could immediately understand and see where I was feeling threatened and vulnerable because of the story that I'd created about myself. Now, we've introduced the elements of a mindful me separately. However, when they're combined, they become this beautiful thing. So attention assures that we are aware. By consciously regulating our attention, we become aware of our automated actions, our judgments, what our ego is saying, and when it's lacking compassion. This awareness then offers the space for change. We can envision our goals that inspire, guide, and experience the path. Mindfully me. A warning about being mindful. Being mindful is not easy, but nor is it difficult, and it can at times be both. Being mindful isn't a way to change your thoughts or a way to not be concerned with the future anymore, and it certainly won't stop life throwing curveballs at you. You'll also require some patience, fascination, and intention. Curiosity as well. The effects of your efforts will not always be immediately evident, and those around you may still want to dance the old way. They haven't had the update, the patch. They haven't had the understanding that you will have by adopting a mindful me way. And this is normal. They will still want you to be reactive, dramatic, and exhaustive. Mindful me is a model that can help you understand, then lead by example to others. Which begs the question, to me anyway, what would mindful me look like in the workplace? So the maturity and uptake of your health and wellbeing program would dictate where we could start working together. You'll probably be able to self-select here to find yourself in one. You're just beginning in the awareness stage of a health and wellbeing program, and you're not sure where to start, but you want your staff to feel empowered and satisfied at work. So you'd probably start with program design and awareness sessions. You've probably had the program going for a while now and want to bring in some new content. So content that helps staff feel capable and to perform well in their roles. So that's a behaviour change element. Or you're really nailing it and you're known as an employer of choice and you want your health and wellbeing program that will absolutely set you apart and have staff integrating their work and their home lives. They're thriving. So what's next? Registration. This registration process here prevents me from knowing who you are, which is a little bit weird if I'm honest, I'm talking to this screen, but leaves the ball in your court. So you can contact me directly via healthyhappystaff.com.au, or you can email me, or because you're super keen and you're ready to play ball, you can call me. Stephanie, am I allowed to pop my phone number in the chat box for them, or do that hand out later?
I can provide that to participants later.
Later? Yeah, cool.
Yes.
So that's the conclusion of there. I'm wondering, do we have any questions?
So thank you, Penny. So yes, there is opportunity now to submit any questions that you would like to ask Penny. So just as a reminder, you can submit your questions through the questions pane in your attendee control panel.
So that was a very quick overview of 2,500 years worth of content, mindfulness content, bringing some of the evidence-informed literature to a program, a model. So with all models, they're great, but when you throw the human element into them, then there's always room for variation and change. If there's no questions, is there any experiences with mindfulness approach?
So a question has come through, Penny. The modern world is full of distractions, mobile phones, Instagram, Facebook. Other than becoming a recluse, how do we manage these?
How do we manage these? I've got 3 small children that want to just spend time on technology. And at the moment, they're using it to watch YouTube videos of people opening Pokemon packs. And personally, I find it really struggling to watch. What I'm encouraging my children to do, my husband, and even myself, is the technology's not going anywhere, but rather using it more resourcefully, using it to enable our lives to free up time. So I'm teaching my children how to do the online grocery shop. I'm teaching them how to Google tide time so that we can go fishing this afternoon at the proper time. Apparently, there's no point going where the tide's going out. So looking at what benefits can you gain from embracing technology and then using that to enhance your life. My 7-year-old daughter is desperate to make something and grow and sell it. Apparently she wants to be an entrepreneur like mum. So I'm actively encouraging her to grow some sunflowers, and her and her brother are creating a social media account, which I manage to watch, but it's largely them. So I'm getting them to do technology to benefit them, not restrict them and keep them attached and looking at Pokemon packs being opened. If there's any parents out there, they would be nodding right now because I believe it's quite popular to do. Yeah. Does that help that answer there, that question there? Embrace technology for yourself rather than hiding away from it.
Thank you, Penny. Another question, is there much publicised data of implementing a mindfulness program within a large organisation? How the program addressed specific issues or cultural change?
Not off the top of my head, I don't have that information, but I know that Larissa Bartlett through the Menzies Centre in Tasmania, she has just submitted her PhD in mindfulness, and she would have some fascinating data to report. I know that she was working with some large organisations in Tasmania to gather that, so I could certainly get that sort of detail to you. And silence. Thank you.